Football is undoubtedly the most popular sport in the world, and the rules of the game have evolved massively over the decades. Initially, there were no standard rules, but instead many variations of laws depending on where it was being played. The sport is now in a place where the laws of the game are unified, a process which began in London in 1863 when the newly formed Football Association finally wrote the first set of rules, which are a far cry from the current ones. As with most things in life, the changing of the times has also seen the laws of the game evolve. From the introduction of substitutes in 1958, the back pass rule, to the cards system. The game is unrecognizable from what it was in the early days. There are constant new technological advancements on a yearly basis, which always creates an avenue to alter and improve the game. These football rules are overseen by the International Football Association Board, IFAB, who have been tasked with maintaining and improving the laws of the game since 1886. Player behavior, technology, and player welfare are three of the main topics on the IFAB agenda for the future, and Lucas Brood, secretary of the board, told Sky Sports that the body is fully responsible for considering new rules without ever dismissing an idea out of hand. Brood assured that they study all suggestions seriously to consider how they would impact how the game is currently being played. "We do receive ideas and we thoroughly review things that are put to us," he said. For instance, with the ABBA penalty idea. This was where there was an assumption that it might improve the fairness of penalties, but it created so much confusion. In the end, we said it was nice to trial it, but we are not considering it going forward. We never dismiss an idea immediately. We always check it against what is already in the laws of the game and whether the laws of the game could potentially be improved in this area, or whether there is a certain interpretation that can be applied, or whether a certain addition of what is in the laws can be brought in order to embrace that idea as well. Over the last decade or so, goal line technology, video assistant referee, and semi-automated offside have been introduced into the game, and there will surely be more of those in terms of improving fairness. Now, the maximum number of substitutes allowed in a game has also increased from 3 to 5 as necessitated by the relentless schedule following the global pandemic. While some of these rules are here to stay, others have come and gone, including the ABBA penalty format and the golden goal. The latter was scrapped when it appeared teams were playing not to lose rather than going for the winning goal. Hence, penalty shootouts returned as the accepted tiebreaker after Euro 2004. In this video, we will be taking you through some new football rules that could exist and completely change the game over the coming years. Sin bins for dissent. The sin bin idea, as inspired by the rules of rugby, has been in the works for a number of years and could finally see the light very soon. The Irish FA proposed the idea to IFAB as far back as 2009, but it was rejected several times. The sin bin aims to curb dissent towards the match officials from players and technical staff as a means to reduce the overreaction to decisions and maintain respect for the referee. Player behavior has become an increasingly major topic, as the introduction of VAR brought more spotlight on refereeing decisions or indecisions. During the 2022-23 Premier League season alone, 15 of the 20 clubs were fined at least once for failing to control their players while protesting at officials. There was also the case of Jurgen Klopp clashing with referee Paul Tierney following Liverpool's dramatic 4-3 win over Tottenham in April 2023, while Alexander Mitrovic was banned for 8 games after pushing referee Chris Kavanagh during Fulham's FA Cup quarter-final against Manchester United in March. To combat these growing misdemeanors and protect the integrity of referees, the FA introduced temporary dismissals across all levels of English football from the start of the 2019-20 season to punish dissent made towards match officials. The sin bins would also curb time wasting and tactical fouls, as a 10-minute ban for a yellow card would speed up the games and greatly improve the sport as a whole. Players would be deterred from unsportsmanlike conduct and committing silly fouls should the punishment become a temporary player advantage for the opponents. The 6-second goalkeeper rule. The 6-second rule is not well known, but it was created to refrain goalkeepers from holding onto the ball for too long. In the past, goalkeepers would often employ ingenious tactics to run down the clock and frustrate opponents and spectators. This rule was then implemented in the early 1990s in a bid to keep the action alive and ensure fairness in games. It stipulates that once a goalkeeper controls the ball with their hands, they must release it back into play within precisely 6 seconds. However, it is almost never enforced at the highest levels of the sport, as referees struggle to implement this law without suffering a barrage of complaints or even wasting more time themselves. The evolution of modern-day football has also seen keepers become a key component of their team's passing game, which means they spend more time with the ball at their feet than in previous years. All in all, referees need to use their discretion in a scenario where a goalkeeper is handling the ball. It is up to them to determine if the keeper's time on the ball is impacting their team's play. The ruling body can also tweak this rule to allow more leeway for the keepers while increasing the punishment for defaulters. The last man rule. When a player commits a foul on an attacker who is clean through on goal, the denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity is punished with a red card. However, if this happens inside the box, then a penalty is given alongside the expulsion. This means that the affected team has to deal with the dismissal of a player as well as a penalty kick against them, a double punishment that changes the course of the entire game. We think that is a bit too harsh, and the appropriate sanction should only be a penalty, making the sending off only mandatory when the guilty player has already been on a yellow card. This way, conceding a penalty does not have to effectively spell the end of the match for a team, while a player who concedes a penalty and gets sent off would be receiving a worthy punishment. Hopefully, IFAB will take these rule adjustments on board in the coming years. The 60-minute matches. While a lot can happen during the 90 minutes of a football match, a lot less can also happen in less than 90 minutes. This is why game management tactics have seen teams employing certain time-wasting techniques, like keeping the ball around the corner flag, feigning injury, and taking too long with stoppage time substitutions. Such practices have significantly reduced the playing time over a full match, and instead of having the regular 90 minutes plus stoppage time, the game gets eaten away by needless breaks in play. Recent research has found that the ball was in play for an average of 54 minutes and 46 seconds in the 2022-23 Premier League season, the lowest it has ever been in 11 seasons since 2012-13. At the 2022 FIFA World Cup, the game was played for about 60% of the 90 minutes. Additional substitutions and long VAR reviews have also contributed to the amount of time spent without playing during a game. Indeed, the World Football governing body combated this with aggregated added time that totaled up to 14 minutes in some games. However, that approach has yet to be implemented in many domestic leagues due to the huge logistics problems it would cause. An easy solution would be to simply stop the timer whenever the ball is not in play, as this would preserve the game and keep it exciting. Fans would also benefit from the proper amount of intense action and get their money's worth, while the game would be enriched by the reduction in unsportsmanlike conduct and time wasting. Referee accountability. Football referees have always been in a bubble pre- and post-match, and it is a burning desire of many football fans to actually have access to what is being said by the match officials. If anything, it would provide clear direction on the thought process behind decisions, as well as an on-the-spot explanation of how the law was interpreted. A television audience listening to what a ref and his VAR team are saying makes for good entertainment and gives them an avenue to communicate the rationale behind their thinking. This system is already in use in other sports, including rugby and tennis, while the use of the audio recordings from controversial VAR reviews are gradually being released to the public. It is definitely a work in progress, and more needs to be done to break the solid wall between referees and the general public. The long-term benefits are fairer assessments of referee performances, as well as respect for the officials. A television audience listening to what a ref and his VAR team are saying, on the other hand, managers and players would also be forced to refrain from their abusive language towards officials, knowing that the audio could be made public. Another way to go about this is having referees face the media to explain their decisions in the post-match interview. This would raise the profile of the referee, but can also go either way, with the said official facing even more abuse. Indeed, the priority is to have a fair game as well as protect referees and their integrity. Encourage attacking football. The implementation of this rule would certainly shake up the game. Imagine a team scores at least 3 goals in a match and they get an extra point regardless if they've won, drawn, or lost the game. Rugby already awards bonus points for a particular amount of tries, and it would be fun to see football toe a similar path. This would encourage teams to simply go for goals, notwithstanding the result, and also compound the days of uninspiring parking the bus to the past. Although this would not be favorable to lesser teams close to the bottom of the standings that rarely score 3 times in a single game. How exciting would title races and relegation fights turn out to be if this rule existed? The future of the sport would greatly benefit from a more positive approach to every match. Regulate goalkeeping gloves. An understated yet vital suggestion would have to be limiting the size of the goalkeeper's gloves. While there is no rule currently governing the goalkeeping equipment, aside from their standard gloves and often bright-colored kit, it is pertinent to note that the size of their gloves have never been regulated. Hence, it could be time to finally ditch the oversized gloves, which are heavily padded and much larger than the keeper's already massive hands. This gives an obvious advantage when stopping shots, a gray area that has never been reviewed. Reducing the keeper's glove size not only makes it fair given outfield players also wear fitted boots that are as light as playing with bare feet, it would also significantly increase the goal scoring rate without affecting too much elsewhere. This could turn out to have a simple yet substantial effect on the game in the long run.